Welcome to the Be Student Podcast, and thank you for joining me. Today, I have the privilege of talking to Gary Hughes, co-founder of Hughes For Your Ready Photography, an award-winning photographer, author, and public speaker. We're so excited Gary's with us. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of a reset, the importance of empathy and listening, and how to not be too precious. Welcome, Gary.
I've been secretly watching all of these and hoping that you would invite me. I didn't want to ask,
So was
really
the secret part hoping that I would invite you, or was the secret part watching them?
No, hoping you'd invite me. I wanted to do it since I was there for the first one, the live one. And I wanted to do it. And I was like, I leaned over to Julie. I go, I have to get on this podcast. And
Julie is his wife.
Yeah.
And also like the wind beneath your wings.
My business
Julie
partner,
is amazing.
Partner in life and business. Yeah. Behind everybody who's talking too much, there's somebody actually working for a living. I think that's true.
I don't think that you're one of those all talk, no delivery guys, though. I think you're completely all cattle, no hat, actually.
Yeah, it's funny because I do talk a lot, and I've been. My mom used to call me a magpie when I was a kid.
Really?
And talking, which you get in trouble for when you're little, like being fidgety, all the ADHD stuff that you do, not able to sit still, bouncing your leg and stuff. And now it's my superpower, which is cool because I get a lot done because I'm affable and I'm chatty, but as you get older, you just sort of, all you got to do is learn when to close the gate for a minute and let somebody else talk.
Well, later on, we're going to ask you at the end of this podcast to tell us the one word that describes the B-side to your record. So on this podcast, we want to go a little deeper and go under the person and understand what's on the B-side of your record. So we'll be doing that through our conversation today. But, you're here because you work technically as a creative, but my impression of working with you, and in full disclosure, if you go on my website, betsygardner.com, that video and most of that photography is yours. My headshot is yours. You've done my team's headshots, and the entire process from start to finish is almost excessively corporate. And you're this tattooed, creative guy that runs this business like a top. It spins like a top, right? And so I want to go through the secrets to that today because I know there's people that are trying to bring into their workplace innovation and they're trying to create this tension that exists between pushing it, but also delivering on the core things we have to do as business, brand, customer delivery, etc. So I'm thrilled that you're here because I want to talk about the B-side to your record, which is actually you have this amazing instinct for commerciality.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the super commerciality. I don't even know if that's a word. But.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is.
It's funny, there's not prep going in this because you want this conversation to be candid. And this is kind of what I was hoping we'd talk about because I think it's the most important for people who do what I do or people who work in creative fields. And I think the biggest problem is we throw around the word creative like it means something. There's creative. And then there's the creative fields, but I think there's creativity in engineering. There's creativity in all kinds of things. And so what happens is people who do what I do, photographers, videographers, content creators, we use the word creative as a weapon, like it's supposed to set us apart from everybody else at the expense of actually running a business. And so a lot of what I teach when I teach other people is how not to be so precious about feeling like you're a creative.
Okay. That is the thing I want people to take away from this conversation. How can people be less precious about just everything?
I think it's perspective. Think about it this way, and this is a really long and dumb analogy, but roll with me here. Your art, your creativity, your desire to make whatever it is that you want to make, that thing, if you want to do that for a living, there's just as much a chance that you're going to burn yourself out, whether you're successful at it or whether you fail at it commercially. Either way, it destroys your desire to keep doing that thing. I can't tell you how many people wash out of the creative fields after either great success, not managed with good practices, or failure commercially, not knowing how to market or run a business. So you think, I'm going to take this thing I love, and I'm going to do it for a living. And it ends up ruining it for you. I call it the hobby paradox. You take this hobby that brings you so much joy, and then you bring it out into the commercial space, and the world is just it's just a bunch of barbarians trying to kill your dream. That's what it is. And so you've got your beautiful little field where your little love, your creativity lives, and your business practices, you're learning how to be an entrepreneur first and a creative second. That's the castle wall you build around your art. Your art lives inside that. And knowing how to run a business protects your creativity. It doesn't stifle it, you know? And so people are like, oh, I want to get back all this time by doing what I love for a living. But they don't tell you that, like, as a photographer, YouTuber, content creator, videographer, and a teacher who teaches in a creative field, I spend about 9% of my time taking pictures, you know, and the rest of the time
you spend on heck of a great marketing and operational value proposition where you're building relationships and you're blowing the doors off somebody like me who refers you probably at least twice a week.
Right. There is a check in the mail for you. I promise. There's a check coming right to you.
No, there doesn't need to be a check for me. That's my job, is to promote your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so I want to start with like the origin story, because I know there's a time when you looked the part of the guy wearing jeans and tattoos, right? So you were traveling around in a van.
I was,
and there was this whole like road warrior thing in the music scene, and then something shifted for you. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, it was funny because I was talking with Addison about this as we were just
Addison's our CMO at the chamber.
Yeah, she's aces, man. And so we were talking about, you know, this kind of exact thing about what an important influence the people in your life are when you're young. And I have 4 kids. And so as a parent, your kids bring you dumb ideas all the time and crazy ideas all the time. Like, Dad, I want to be a giraffe when I grow up. I'm like, you're going to be the best giraffe that ever lived.
But you're really good at encouraging them, because I'll see you at shoots or events and you'll actually hand this, $2,000 camera to one of your children and say, now you go shoot. I'm like, I'm not sure I could have done that.
Yeah, I think I took my parents' lead on that. For an example, you were talking about my days as a musician. I was in school at the University of Florida, and I was finishing up my degree. I have a degree in sociology, which I've never used. And that's fine, though. I had a great time, and I met some great people there. But I called my dad because I had been invited to audition for this band that was about to go on a tour. Their singer dropped out, and they needed somebody. And the girl I had known in high school was dating the guitar player. And she's like, I know a guy. So they called me up, and they said, I was in Gainesville at the time, said, come down to Orlando, learn these 6 songs, and you're going to perform with us. And if it goes well, you can come on tour with us. That was basically the audition. It was at Will's Pub, which is a local institution here in Orlando.
Will's on Mills. We love it. Okay.
So that was my first and then it was literally 2 weeks after that, I was on the road for 2 years, pretty much straight after that.
Traveling all over the U.S., all over the world.
I got to play at cool places like CBGB's in New York City right before they closed, and some really cool iconic locations. Skating rinks, like very not Class A venues, just wherever anybody that would let us play. Yeah, I got to play with some bands that I loved.
Talk about not being too precious. You're like saying yes to everything.
You have to. Like, when you don't have any money and you got a dream, and you got to say yes to a lot of things. And so basically, the point is, I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I'm dropping out of college and I'm going on the road in a band. And this is my dad. He
was thrilled.
No, he said, what you're calling, you're like, you're going to college. Your parents are like, we did it. He's doing it.
Right.
And he goes, awesome. That's what my dad said. He's like,
he gave
awesome.
You the camera the way you give your kids the camera.
He did.
Wow. Good for him.
That's a good way to put it.
My parents let me major in history. I called them and said, hey, I know I was supposed to get a PR degree here, but I've fallen head over heels with the history curriculum and I'd like to major in history. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's important, though, that sort of let you try things. I think a fear, there are 2 fears for most people, and you're somewhere on the spectrum. You're afraid of failure, or you're afraid of missing out. And everybody, I think, falls somewhere in between that. What is your driving force? And I've never, ever been afraid to fail or to look dumb or to be bad at something. And I think that's kind of the secret of why I've been able to be successful in my endeavors, is because I don't stop and think like, what if this doesn't work out? Because if it doesn't work out, I just do something else.
Yeah.
And I don't have
any... like Dolly Parton, one of my heroes. She's literally quoted as saying that.
Yeah, Dolly's the best, man. But My kids, by the way, we went to Dollywood for Christmas this year. You ever been to Dollywood at Christmas time?
Okay, I've never been to Dollywood, and this is
What?
a problem. I think that 2025 is the year I'm going to Dollywood.
I'm telling you, it is. I was not super psyched about Dollywood. I don't love theme
Why?
parks in general. I love Dolly.
She doesn't do anything halfway.
Yeah, but in my mind, it's like, oh, we're going out to the Pigeon Forge, Tennessee to go to some theme park that a celebrity put their face on. It sounds like if this was in a TV show, it would be a disaster. But in real life, it is so great. And especially at Christmas time, they really do it up. So we had an awesome time, and I got a good family photo of us at Dollywood.
I want to be in a cozy cabin in the mountains going to Dollywood at Christmas time.
That's exactly what we did.
Fantastic.
We rented a cabin, and then we made a pilgrimage, our lifetime pilgrimage to Dollywood. Would go again, 5 stars, would absolutely do it again.
Okay, going back to Addison, she just came from Dollywood and brought me merch, a bejeweled little makeup case that says "Y'all need Dolly." I mean, obviously, we do.
So what you're saying is I forgot to bring you something.
You forgot to bring me merch from Dollywood.
All my kids got Dolly Parton merchandise. It was pretty awesome. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back because, I have you at event photography where we have elected officials. We have got a very strict timeline of how everything in that event needs to run. We have given you marketing, brand guides, and direction about what we need from the shot list. And it is buttoned up when you come do an event shoot for us.
Yeah, typically.
And yet, you started your adult life traveling in a van as a musician. Tell us about the thing that switched for you when you said, okay, music isn't for me anymore. I want to go dazzle super corporate 55-year-old ladies with my ability to tell their brand
That's
story.
That's a fantastic way to put it. I think that, gosh, what is your secret passion? What did you think? It'd obviously be music. Like, I'm a karaoke addict now. Music will always be a part of me. My daughters are starting to play music.
Okay.
We're actually playing together. Last night we were playing, me and my daughter, she's learning the ukulele. My other daughter's learning the drums.
Now we're becoming the Hughes family band.
I'm telling
love
you,
it.
Yeah. We're going to, tickets available from Ticketmaster.com. No, we're going to start a YouTube channel. No, probably not. But it's been a great joy of my life. And so I will always have it. And the reason I want my kids to have it, I don't want to force them to play the violin 4 hours a day. But I believe that if you have music or something like it, music especially, whether you're a singer or you can play guitar or piano, whatever your instrument is, however you relate to it, anywhere you go in the world, whatever you want to do, whatever venture you want to go on, you can find your people so easily because you'll be able to plug in and have a community right away. But for me, it changed, I think, when we were touring, we were talking with a couple of different record labels, with Sony Records and with Atlantic Records. And we were talking in terms of what they call a development deal, which in the music industry means like, we're not quite sure about you, but you got moxie, so let's see what happens.
Right.
And none of that worked out. I got as close as you can get to the thing I wanted. And then I realized that
the thing you wanted was a record deal.
The thing I wanted was to be a musician, but the thing I wanted to do was, in my mind at that time, being 22, was I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be adored. I wanted to live in an RV with a bunch of dudes just drinking beers and playing shows at the coolest places. I wanted to have adventure, I think. And if you boil it down to what I was really after, I think I realized that I didn't need that to get it. I think that brings me back to the word creative. And I think that what I really needed to be doing with my life was movement. I needed to be moving. I needed things to be refreshed and renewed constantly. I need new stimulus all the time.
When's your birthday?
November 24th.
Yes, I knew it. Mine's the 22nd. I'm like, you're describing the Sagittarius me right now. I love it. Okay.
I need it to be interesting all the time.
Yeah.
Like you said, those like those events when somebody just throws a bunch of stuff at you and you can pull it off. To me, that's the best feeling. When things go wrong and you persevere, that doesn't stress me out. That turns my crank. That like gets me going. And so
I say I want something that wakes me up at 4:00 in the morning because I'm like, that's the answer.
Oh yeah,
and I want to do things that I actually don't know I can succeed at. I want to be scared about how I'm going to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's just the idea of going to a cubicle in a pair of pleated khakis and a polo shirt with somebody else's logo on it every day for the rest of my life, trying to get a big pile of money so that when I'm 65, I can hopefully make that pile of money last until I kick the bucket, sounds like hell to me. And to some people, I have an older brother and he's the sweetest man in the world. And he loves, this is what I do from 9 to 5 and I clock out and then I'm free. And he has to never think about his job when he's not there. He has this incredible freedom in that. And so for some people, that's like what they want and what they need. But for me, that's like wearing a turtleneck all the time. It's just like, get it
and
off
yet,
of me.
what I know about you, and I hope you don't mind my saying this, what I know about you is you've got 4 kids, you've got all their college funded. I think you guys have got your house paid off. You have no debt in your business.
Not quite, but getting
and
there.
I'm like, this guy is unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
So I'd call you quite buttoned up. But hold on. We moved from music in a van, no development deal, to then how do we become this?
Well, I think I did what a lot of people do is I went home, and my parents were gracious enough to take me in for a little bit.
Okay.
And then I found a place to live. I went back to my old job from high school, which was working at the movie theater.
Okay, which one?
It was work for Regal Treasure Coast 16 at the Treasure Coast Square Mall, where I was an assistant manager for a lot of my high school and community college days. And they took me back there and I went and I just kind of reset and was just kind of recalibrating. And I think that happens to a lot of people when you're 22 and you're not sure what to do with your life.
Oh, no, I think a reset and a recalibrate isn't something you should just do at 22. I think we should systematize a reset and a recalibrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not necessarily moving back in with your parents, but how do you drop back? Like in April, I said to my team, I'm not taking any external meetings. I have no bandwidth. I'm struggling to cope with what I've got ahead of me. And we're in this big content creating mode right now, and I needed to use the slow part of my brain instead of the fast part of my brain.
It's a great way to put it, actually.
And I needed to just sort of clear things out so I could build creative capacity. We'd just been through an election and the launch of a lot of things, and there was a lot of noise in my life. And I think that dropping back with intentionality is something certainly in America you're not supposed to say out loud that you need.
Right? Yeah. And I think that goes double for people who are go-getters, hard on themselves, type A's, ambitious people. And I think you sort of feel like you messed up, you failed, and then now I got to go back home and all of the people that I was like, see you later, I'm going off to college, townies. And now I'm there serving their popcorn, and that can feel awful. And a lot of people.
But again, you weren't too precious.
No.
I love that.
You can't be precious because it's like being in high school. The thing I would give to every 16-year-old in the world, if I could, is guess what? No one cares. And they're all so worried about who's looking at them. They're not even worried about you. And that's something that comes with maturity. And I think that I learned that earlier than I needed to. And I had a great model in my parents who are phenomenal workers. And I watched them you can be famous in one thing and nobody knows you in another. Like you could be the world's leading astrophysicist, theoretical, blah, blah, blah. And you could go to Starbucks and nobody bothers you, so in your own zone, you could just get a lot of respect from people. But when you're in a service business like I am, I still go to an event and, I go to among photographers. I have a good reputation. I've been a teacher for a long time, but I go to an event and people are still like, yo, camera guy, you get this, And
for those listening, please don't ever do that.
No,
it's so disrespectful.
But it's part of the job. Everybody's, I don't take stuff personally.
Again,
and
not too precious.
And if you have to, I believe it's more important to show people that they were wrong to underestimate you than it is to tell people that they're underestimating you. And I have this happen all the time because I'm basically a dentist. Nobody wants to see me. Everybody, people come in because they have to. I need these photos. I need this content.
Yeah, but you make it so fun.
Exactly. You defy the expectations until they are. Nobody, unless you're like David LaChapelle or Annie Leibovitz, nobody's going to walk into a studio with you feeling lucky to be there.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
I always like our time together.
But we've been working together for years. Yeah. But somebody who doesn't know me, somebody who books unassisted through the website, they come in and they're expecting, like, no offense, JCPenney, Portrait Studio,
Olin Mills.
Olin Mills. Oh yeah, we can make fun of them because they don't exist anymore.
Okay,
yeah.
but one of the things I loved is that you and Julie last year did a awkward photos fundraiser. Again, not being too precious. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you're going to alienate people in a way that is going to hurt your business.
Yeah.
Being precious as an artist makes you often very bad at making a living as an artist. And so when you get that kind of a reputation, that kind of cachet, then maybe if you really want to, you can throw your weight around a little bit. But mostly people come in and you defy their expectations. And I think that what really counts here isn't your skill as a technician, as a creative. I think it's empathy. Because what people bring into my studio 10 times a day is they're dragging behind them their self-image, their baggage. And it's not my fault. But in that moment, it's my problem. It's my problem to solve, even though I didn't create the problem. And I do that on a daily basis.
Can I just share one moment that I loved when I was in the studio with you last fall? We were redoing my headshot, or there was one time, you've done so many for me, I can't remember, but we're going through, you'll shoot, and then the images show up on this kind of iPad, thumbnails, and you say, right there in the moment, I'd like you to tell me what you think is, working for you. And I was like, well, I like that one, but I don't like the way my neck looks. And you said immediately, oh, we just take that out in post. I loved it. And I'm like, can you travel everywhere with me and take my neck out in post?
I think, and I'm leaning more and more towards natural portraits and people sort of accepting themselves. But I think in that moment, what I'm doing with someone isn't necessarily like letting them know what I can do with a computer. What I'm doing in that moment is I'm letting the person who's uncomfortable and people who are overly self-effacing, overly self-critical. And most of the time, all you have to do to get somebody on your side is let them collaborate with you. And so I think that where creatives go in, they believe all the good ideas have to be mine. And I think that part of creativity is recognizing a good idea and a creativity in another person you're working with. I think photographers and a lot of creatives tend to be selfish creatives. Like, this is mine, it's for me, I'm doing what I love. And you're looking at a human person in front of you who maybe has a couple extra pounds on them, or maybe they're concerned about how much they look like their dad now, stuff like that.
Or as Nora Ephron said, I feel bad about my neck. I don't know a single woman my age that is like, I love my neck. It's great.
Yeah, and you have to act like every time someone tells you something, it's the first time you've ever heard it. Because, this is like the number one concern of men and women, by the way. Oh, yeah, this right here. How many chins do I have? How many lines are in my neck?
Wow, and so, that's the winner.
And when somebody tells you, you look them in the eyes and you take it seriously. And it isn't even about how they look. It's about feeling seen and heard by someone, about getting it off your chest that maybe it's okay for you not to be perfect. And somebody's just going to, but I could be a total jerk about it. I could be offended that you didn't like the picture I took. I could be rough with you and say, we just got to get through this. I could be businesslike, but mostly I have sessions where somebody's in the studio for 30 minutes and we spend 20 minutes just listening to them talk about what's bothering them. One of my most difficult sessions.
You're like half mental health counselor.
I'm telling you, but it's sort of because it's usually just me and the person I'm photographing. And that changes the dynamic when you're in a situation where you've got a job to do, you've got a limited time to do it, but then you bring in baggage, you bring in self-image. And I remember a man came in, and I get a lot of people we send out a lot of information when people are getting ready for a session, like, do not drink excessively in the days leading up to,
because you're going to be puffy as heck, aren't
yes,
you?
and you're going to have bloodshot eyes and puffy and splotchy skin. And that's one of a dozen or so things we recommend to make sure that you look your best. I like people to look their best. I don't like to fix things in computer if I don't have to.
But you'll always fix my neck.
100%.
Thank
always
you very much. I appreciate it.
And this gentleman comes in, and this is what we call an onboarding session. So it's basically he's a member of.
Can it get any more corporate speak than onboarding session? This is what I love. Yes. Okay.
Onboarding is we become an onboarding provider for a company. So every time they hire somebody new, we create a specific web page where their new hires can go and book, and they don't have to ask us when we're available. It's a really cool service. But the dude comes in and I'm like, I looked right at him. I'm like, dude hit it hard last night. And it's irritating, but I got to suck that up. I can't be that dude got shillelied last night. And he comes in. And so I just start talking to him. I don't mention that his eyes are all bloodshot and he looks puffy. And then he just seems a little like not low energy from like being hungover. He just seems down. And I just stopped. I'm like, hey, are you okay, man? Like as a human to another human. And I get choked up talking about it. He's like, no, man, I was up all night with my son. He got cut from the varsity baseball team. It's all he's ever wanted to do with his life is be a baseball player. And he's like, I was up crying with my son all night. And that began what should have been 10 minutes into a 45-minute session where 38 minutes of it was talking to this guy about his son.
And I'll bet you still got a great photo.
We did. Yeah.
I remember you came to do a shoot with us at the chamber. We did everybody's headshot in one day.
Yeah.
And I just received one of the worst pieces of news in my entire life. And it was in the middle of the pandemic. And this piece of news affected the health of one of my employees and made me very upset.
I remember.
And I was like, the last thing I want to do is have my picture made right now, because I process grief as anger, right? And I was grieving this piece of news. And somehow you still got a photo that was workable out of that day. But I almost can't look at that photo because I remember how much pain I was in that day when you took it.
And that's exactly the point where I'm talking about empathy. And it's easy to, especially if you work in volume, like multiple people at the same time, or events when you've got a shot list. And it's very hard to take a beat, but it very often takes a lot less time than you think. But we have so much emotion tied with photos of ourselves and our own self-image, and it brings us. So you have to kind of do everything you can to make the experience something. And that's where I'm saying I don't sell photography. I give an experience. And for my corporate clients, 9 times out of 10, the best experience I can give them is they never have to think about me.
Oh,
I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to take as much off their plate as I can. And then that's it. That's the best thing. The best compliment you can get is totally forgot you were there.
Yeah.
I didn't even see you.
Well, and especially now when we have to film video and all that. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I'm thinking about as you're talking is this idea that you're actually using your sociology degree.
Well, to be fair, it's criminal sociology, so I know a lot about.
Hopefully not that specifically, but
I know a lot about crime.
But
statistics.
Here's the interesting thing: I'm a liberal arts major, and I'm a staunch defender of liberal arts as a platform for critical thinking, excellent communication, being able to observe a huge set of data points and figure out how they're all connected. And what's striking to me is that I get these creepy ads on my Instagram and my LinkedIn saying, hey, you can use AI for your headshot. And I'm like, oh, the idea of that is kind of, we can now, even in the dawn of AI, tell when it's AI and not a real person, right? We can already tell. And there's something about an excessive use of AI that begins for me to dilute the trust that should exist between people to do business, right? So as I'm thinking about how you extract the juice of a really powerful branded headshot, right? How do you show up with the empathy that unlocks that? Now, we're very focused on this podcast, of course, on the B side of the record, right? Which is, what's that human thing that triggers the business side of you, right? And so I'm hearing you say that it's empathy that probably was served or nourished or engendered somewhat in the pursuit of an understanding of sociology, right? That's a deeply let's focus on people discipline that you may not think. And like, I'm not sitting here writing, theses on historical moments, but to some degree, my board and my team and I are making history in Winter Park, right? And so that's our job, right? Yeah. And so How do you ever think about that? Do you ever think about the practical application of that? Because I love celebrating. Hey, guess what? We have another liberal arts winner sitting in front of us, right? We have somebody that after the whole storm of AI comes through like a hurricane and clears everything out of here, the only thing that will matter is how you relate to people.
Yeah, I there's a lot to unpack in that. I think just to look at it like a sociologist would look at it, because that's my training, is I think if you understand how people move in groups, it makes people's individual behavior sometimes more tolerable and even predictable. And then you can even empathize a little bit more. Like, why do people steal? Mostly because they're poor. Like that's what we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I think that if you understand a little more about human nature and society, it can bring more empathy to you. And it's sort of when you realize that certain patterns are part of an overall system and that you got to have long-term thinking when it comes to stuff.
Yep.
And I have a tendency to react rather than respond. And so I've had to learn how to respond to people instead of react to people. And I'm not great at it naturally. And it's something I've had to cultivate for many years, but it's made me really good at my job. And I think that one of the things you have to do in order to deliver an experience is to understand what's trying to accomplish. Any good business is focused on solving problems and meeting the needs of the consumer.
We say this all the time.
And I think that you're like, I have so many people who I've coached, who I've talked to in my life that are like, I'm really good at this. Why aren't I more successful? And I'm like, it has nothing to do with how good you are at the craft. You're talking about running a business. Who are you a solution for? Are you even a solution for anybody?
Right.
Is there anybody out there whose problems you're solving, whose needs you're meeting? Start there. I have a colleague who's very, very good at his job. And he and his wife have a kind of a similar setup to Julie and I. They run a photography business out in California. And they moved from one part of California to another because the type of work that they wanted to do wasn't really in demand in the city where they live. So they relocated because the market where they're relocating to needed their service more. And I'm thinking like, man, I wish people thought like that. I wish people like creatives who are looking to make a living, you go, who do I exist to serve? And do they live where I am? If you really want to niche down into a specific thing and you're going to die inside if you don't do that, you better go somewhere where somebody needs that thing, or change the thing to the people in your market, what they need. You're always trying to serve someone. And I think that a lot of creatives don't consider who it is they're serving. It's like, if I get good enough at this, I will start to get acclaim.
Yeah, talent alone isn't going to cut it. We start always with the problem set. What's the problem, right? Because it's not in human nature to part with your money. Why would you want to part with your money?
I love parting with money personally. I buy all the gum at the checkout at the grocery store.
But no, you're really good with money. I love how you're joking about that.
No, I'm on an allowance. My wife's good with money.
It's not human nature to part with money. I want to keep it.
Sure.
Right. And so people aren't going to spend unless there is a mandate to change something that's broken or hurting, or there's a need. There's got to be that problem set focus. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're so good at this. And I want to dovetail into this, which is we don't look at you as our partner in taking pictures. We look at you as our partner in telling our brand story, right?
Sure.
Because 20% of my members show up to our live events. That means 80% of my members need something that isn't going to the event to feel that we're doing something valuable for them.
Right.
And that universe is digital, right?
100%.
And increasingly more, AI driven and enabled, all that stuff. But you're helping us all the time telling the story of what happened at that event, or you're telling the story of who we are on our team. So one of the hardest things I have to do every year is speak to a room full of teenagers in our youth leaders program.
That was just recently,
yeah,
right?
And people say to me, oh, Betsy, you're a confident speaker. Well, just you try to do that in a room full of teenagers.
Nobody can dress you down like an 8th grader. I'm telling you, teenagers know, they see instantly the thing that you're most sensitive about, identify it and say it out loud. So
let me tell you what happened the other day when they're all like, it's 9:00 in the morning, it's summer. They wanted to have slept till 1. They don't want to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Their mom told them this is a good idea, or their college counselor or somebody. So they're in the room, and and it's like that moment in The Wizard of Oz where it moves from black and white to color.
Classic.
All right. I showed them my website, betsygardner.com. Bam! The video that you took hits them in the face. And all of a sudden, what I'm telling them is animated because they actually got to see it in a medium that matters to them.
Right. Yeah, that's where touch points are.
You are our trusted partner in closing trust and credibility gaps for us, helping us tell the story of who we are, who we're engaging. We're engaging all kinds of diverse people. People might not know that unless they see the pictures, the receipts, and the evidence that you provide for us. And that awareness of telling that brand story, I think, is your superpower. Can you talk to us about that process a little bit?
I think, again, it just comes from listening, being empathetic, and then you have to understand the assignment. And it's not being precious, because I think when you're new in a creative field, let's take photography as the example. You get a lot of people coming to you with Pinterest boards like, do this, copy this, do this, I want this. And eventually, as you gain trust in your community, you gain trust as a service provider, you become more known in your community, which is Winter Park for us is just, it's not only our home, it's where our business is. Like, we've got to the point now, I can't go out to dinner without running into somebody we know. And we have just been so grateful to just be after living here for so many years, becoming so entrenched in the community. But gaining that trust and that reputation, eventually people will come to you and go, instead of going, do this, they'll go, I want you to do what you do. Just do it with me.
Yep.
And I think that what a lot of creatives don't understand is that kind of trust takes time. And it's a long-term proposition. And so at this point, if I was working for a new client and they were to say, like, occasionally I even have to like go and meet them so they can make sure that I'm like a real human. That happens still to this day. But they might manage me a little bit more. We did a job for IBM this past year, and that's a big corporation with a lot on the line. And they brought us out to do headshots for 500 of their executives at their annual event. And they provided us with 2 people from their company and 1 person from the marketing company who booked it all to be with me and my team at the event to make sure we were doing our job. After about 90 minutes in the first 3 days, they're like, you clearly have this. They left. They went back and started doing more process. So that trust has to be established. So, but with you and with the chamber, at this point, you say, you give me a brief and you let me do my job. And that took time.
That is my management style. I'm going to show you the vision of what we want to achieve, and then I'm going to let you be brilliant.
Right. And occasionally, even after 20 years in the business, I still get micromanaged by mostly marketers or people with a very specific vision. And if I was doing, if we were boxing, I think it's, Lord, you take the hit, you punch back, you take the hit, you punch back. It creates this adversarial relationship. You got to think of it more like judo. I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to grab it, and then I'm going to turn around and throw you. It's like, we're going to make something amazing. We're going to be a team, but you have to I have to earn your trust. And I never walk into a situation assuming that trust. And I think that's part of not being precious about stuff is like, I just don't get offended. I can't tell you how many times a year. And last year, my team shot 9,000 headshots between us. And I can't tell you how many times somebody walks over to the computer and goes, oh, and their reaction is negative. If I was precious, I'd be like, you have no idea how hard it was to make you look that good. Let me look at you right now and you look at that. And I can tell you objectively, that's way better than you appear to be.
Even though they're reacting to them,
but it doesn't matter
you.
Because then instead, again, even in a short time span, it's like, you got to let some people just want to touch stuff. They just want to feel like they got a little piece of a say in it. And that's all they wanted. And they just don't know how to articulate that. And so I very often go, okay, sorry about that. Tell you what, let's look at this. Can you tell me specifically? And we'll run it back and do it again. And you can tell me what to watch out for. And they go, and it's normally something so dumb. They're like,
but you listen.
There's a strand of hair on my forehead. I'm like, got it. Let's do it again. Or, ooh, you know what? There's a wrinkle in my shirt. It's usually something so fixable, but all they really want is to have a say in it.
And to feel safe.
Yeah. And a lot of people who look at themselves as the big C word, creatives, like, but that's my vision. I'm clearly an expert. And you go, no, they just want to have a say in it. And let them. And it'll be better. They'll be happier. The whole thing works better when you just let everybody just do it and move on with your life, you know?
So I think this is a key takeaway from this episode, which I hate. We have to wrap up pretty soon because I could talk to you for all day.
All day.
This generation that's emerging from college right now,
Mm-hmm.
we've been reading a lot of research about it, and it's clustering around this. 58% of hiring managers say they want no part of hiring somebody from a recent college graduate cohort right now. And a couple of the reasons why include an impression that they're too precious. And so I hope this podcast is helpful, particularly to young people, to think about how can I do the thing that listens more, that is more empathetic, that understands the value of a rest and a reset. And let's face it, I'm going to go back and work at the Regal Cinemas. Right?
Well, best job I ever
I'm
had.
going to go back and eat a bunch of crow, go
Yeah.
live at my parents' while I'm resetting to become this.
Yeah.
To become this.
I think
right?
that's okay.
So you're a globally leading thought leader in photography, commercial photography. You're teaching, you're keynoting. For goodness sake, you're shooting 500 for IBM, right? And we want people to go on to Hughes Fioretti Photography and learn more about you online. But I love that you invited people into your process and your kind of secret sauce of how you do this. As we wrap up, what is that one word that you think describes the B-side to your record?
It's got to be one word. Can it be like hyphenated?
It can be hyphenated.
I would say thoughtful ambition.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm incredibly ambitious, and when I was younger, it was you have to bash down every door. You have to headbutt everybody. You have to push your way into what you want. And I think it's tempering that ambition into something like, I think empathy rounds the edges off that ambition. You never stop pushing, but you also have to realize that when you're a clever, ambitious kid and you're from a small town and you're very often the smartest person in the room, but then you get your big boy pants on and your big girl pants on and you get in a room full of really smart people. And the first time you realize you're not the smartest person in the room. So I think that's hard for me to do that. And over time, I've had big failures, things where I've been ejected from things, asked not to come back from boards and organizations where I come in and I'm like, I know what to do. And then I realize that like ambition is still my driving force, but I've learned to have more empathy, to listen, humility, so that tempered ambition, I think, is what is my goal in life. And I have to constantly ask myself, what would a nice person do? But I'm always still driven. I wake up every morning buzzing with ideas, ready to go to work because I'm not afraid to fail and I will always keep moving. But over the years now at 43, I have learned that I am very rarely the smartest person in the room. And that's okay, because if you're only ever the smartest person in the room, you're never going to learn a damn thing.
That's right. I adore you. Thank you, my friend. I'm
Thanks for
so
having me.
grateful for you being with us today. To learn more, go on to hughesfioretti.com and see some of Gary's beautiful images. And also they're on the website at the Winter Park Chamber and betsygardner.com. So just get yourself some Gary Hughes. Thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Anytime.